Welcome back, everyone. I'm Lee Oden, CEO of Top Rank Marketing, and for the next 2.5 hours, I will be guiding you through a whole host of presentations live here from New York City. So as you watch our Global Marketing Day presentations, please make sure you share your own favorite tips, tricks, and secrets on social media channels using the event hashtag Global Marketing Day. We've had some great conversations so far about social good, optimizing for voice search, so many different things. It's really been rich. So the bar is quite high, I guess, for our panel today, but I'm sure we're going to do just great. We're now going to explore more about SEO for small teams within larger organizations. And our next presentation comes from John Shehata, Vice President Audience Growth at Conde Nast. I'm going to tell you a little more about John. He oversees SEO, social media strategy, email operations and strategy, and organic partnerships for 20 premium brands. And with him, we're going to learn more about the soft and hard SEO skills that are needed to run a small SEO team for an enterprise brand. And his presentation is called 21 Skills to Supercharge Your In-House SEO, especially for small teams and big companies. And after this presentation, we're going to benefit from 15 minutes of conversation with John and our two guests, John Evans, who is the Executive SEO Director of Tribal Worldwide, and Lily Ray, SEO Director of Path Interactive. And I'll share a little more about John. He leads the agency's search offering for CPG, pharma, and financial services clients. Lily Ray provides strategic leadership for Path Interactive's SEO client programs and brings a strong technical background, performance-driven habits, and forward-thinking creativity to all programs that she oversees. So take it away, John.
Hey guys, thanks Lee. So today I'm going to talk to you about 21 skills to supercharge your in-house SEO efforts. And I'm John Shehata, VP of Audience Development Strategy at Conde Nast. These are some of the great brands that I have the honor to actually work on SEO, social, and email strategy. And just a quick shout out, I just launched this tool, News Dash, a very specific tool for news SEO. So go check it out and let me know. Okay, so let's start with the first skill. Now, it's a big myth that if you work in an enterprise company, you have a big SEO team, most likely it's going to be a one-man, one-woman kind of a show when you start there. So the first thing and the essential skill that you must have is you need to build relationships. You need to know who is there in the company, who are the main stakeholders, because every relationship you build will facilitate your work, your projects to get into the queue. You know the queue, right? Everything goes to the backlog. So these kind of relationships helps you tremendously in getting your projects, your ideas to the top of the queue. Don't just depend on emails, right? Emails is like one thing, but go walk to the people, have regular meetings. Sometimes with no agenda, just has a coffee and chit chat and like get to know the person and let them to know you as well. One thing I did in one of my previous companies, to get to know to the development team, I started SEO Thursday donuts. I will buy a donut box every Thursday, put it there in their workspace and say compliments from the SEO team. And after a while, people start coming to us and say like, oh, thank you for the donuts. Who's behind that? And that was like the icebreaker. This was our entry to the team. So small things can really matter. The second skill is you need to win the engineering team. Now, the development or the engineering team could be your best ally or your worst enemy, right? So you need to speak their language. You need to know that when you present stuff to them, it's not about how they do it. It's about the problem and the outcome, the desired outcome. They are the engineers who need to figure out the connection between the two. Never go to them and say, this is the way you should do it. Unless it's very specific SEO specs like structured data, this is what we need, but it's not about how do you do it. So respect the craft of all the other teams you're working with. Development, editorial, UX, and so on. They have been doing this forever, so respect their craft. It's very important. And never ask, is it doable? Everything is doable, right? And never say, it's easy, it should take you an hour or two. These kind of phrases don't use with the development team. So let's move to the next skill. So you need to understand your technical stack, your tech stack, right? Because if you don't have a good understanding how behind the scene the CMS, the front end, the APIs, and so on work for your company, your recommendations will have a hard time to be implemented. You understand what are the fields in the CMS that the editorial teams, for example, or the content creators can use. Which ones of these fields you can translate into the front end, what kind of APIs it's connected to for the front end, and so on. When you understand that, you can provide a very smart recommendations. You can map the fields from the CMS to the front end. So spend some time, take some time to understand your tech stack to deliver great recommendations. 4, I know in the past 2 years, we SEOs are being asked to be great content marketers, great data scientists, get a hold on data science and analytics and so on. But I think technical SEO is becoming a really big field in SEO, to the point that in the past year or so, there are a lot of jobs posted on LinkedIn that have the title technical SEO. So improve your technical SEO skills. No one is asking you to actually code anything, but you have to understand what is the JavaScript framework? How does it work? Are you using React or Angular? How you can optimize that? How you can use APIs? How you can automate stuff there? And you can get the help from other people on the team, from the engineering side, to implement some of the stuff, but immerse yourself in technical SEO knowledge, and there is a lot of information out there that you can learn. So just don't stop at the basic stuff, but get more knowledge in technical SEO. 5, how you sell your projects. Okay, you're in a big company, there is a ton of priorities. Most of the priorities that get into the top of the queue are revenue related, or like major fixes that need to be happen. And now your SEO projects are right here. It's great that you have these big projects coming. You need to do 2 things. Either you align your projects with the company goals. If the company is focused on selling a specific product, or they have a specific KPI this quarter, try to align your project to serve this goal. You can have an easy sell if you align your projects with the company KPIs or goal or initiatives, right? Because you're going to make that initiative even more successful. The other thing also, find the champ, the advocate for SEO. Someone in the company believes in SEO. It could be the CTO, it could be the CMO, it could be someone in the editorial team is like, oh, I know SEO is important and we need to do more of that. This is your advocate. This is your sponsor. So through him, by providing information and data on how you can make him more successful and his unit more successful, you can get some of your SEO projects. When you start your SEO work, don't start with big projects. You can go to the team and say, hey, I have this project, it's 60 pages, doc, this is the 100 things that we need to do. It's dead on arrival. No one will pay attention, no one will read it. And you didn't gain the trust yet of the company. So you start with quick wins. Easy level of effort, or small level of effort with a big impact. You do a few of those projects, you'll gain trust, and you get the reputation that you are the guy who can move the needle. Once you gain trust on these small projects, then you can move to big projects. And even with big projects, right, break them down into phases. Phase 1, Phase 2, Phase 3, and Phase 4. This way, teams can work on it, because no one wants to work on a project for 6 months, okay? It will not happen, right? They need to move fast from one project to the next project. So break your big project into small projects, and even the smaller project into smaller tasks. So if you're using Jira or something like that, that could be, you can create an epic and multiple tickets under that. You need to show value, okay? A lot of times, it's a joke that every sentence as an SEO, we start with, it depends. It's true, but if you want to go there and sell your project, especially the big ones, you have to show value. So there's two things that you can show value. You cannot talk about, hey, there is 300,000 people searching for this topic. That's not value, really. That's our own internal KPI. But when you recommend your projects, when you submit your projects to the company, there's two things that you can show value with. One is dollar signs. It's a universal language. People see this is the project and this is how much it can generate for the company as revenue. Two, internal KPIs. Every company has 1, 2, or more KPIs that they care about. If time spent is the KPI for your company, you have to show the value in time spent. It's like, this project in SEO will generate an additional 10% increase in time spent on all our articles. You have to speak the language. You have to present value and the metrics and the KPIs that the company are tracking and care about. You need to develop analytical skills. You would be lucky if there's an analytics team within the company. Some big companies, they have like one person analytics, and he's like generating reports for executives and teams and so on. You need to understand analytics. So get a good understanding of Google Sheet and Excel. It's not just like creating formulas or pivot tables. Go beyond that. Understand Google Analytics, different metrics, what they mean. Understand, can you build BI dashboards? What tools out there? There's a lot of tools, plug and play, where you can connect your Search Console data, Google Analytics, and so on, and create really custom dashboards, and they're not expensive. You can go even a step further, understand MySQL, APIs, and A/B tests, and so on. But at the end of the day, if you're going to develop a report and you want to share these numbers, make sure that it's approved by your analytics team. The worst thing, you can send something out, and then the analytics team come back and say, no, these metrics are wrong, or you didn't get the right metrics. It's not really good. So do your own work. You're going to make it easy for the analytics team, and you have everything ready. Get it approved by them, and then you can share your numbers. Establish an SEO process. This is very important. Once you gain a reputation, once people know about you and your team, you start integrating your work into the different processes out there in the market, in the company. So the dev team, for example, they must have some kind of a process, right? So there's staging work, there specs gathering, there's UX and design, there's like staging, there's QA, and so on. Figure out where SEO can be at a different certain points there. This is, for example, like a process that I created on different stages of the thing. I'm not sure if we're sharing the presentations or not, but it's a simple thing, and you can see where did I integrate SEO in different phases of the process. The best thing is you integrate SEO into the workflow. The hardest part, if you tell an editorial team, hey, go use that tool, they will never do that. They have a lot of work on their end. They have a lot of priorities. Hey, dev team, go use that tool, right? You need to bring the tool, the insights, the information into their workflow, right? So if the tech team is using Jira, submit stuff there. If the editorial team are using Word docs and Slack, get your information down there. So the easier you make it for them and it's a part of their workflow, you can get things faster and you have a higher adoption rates. Fight hidden resources within the company, right? You have a small team, limited team, but there are people who are really looking for someone to help them succeed in their work, right? So if you have a PR team, right, they can help you a lot with like some link building. You can help them optimize their press releases and so on. If there is a freelance budget that maybe the company cannot hire full-timers, but they have a good freelancer budget, maybe utilize this budget to hire some people out there and so on. Work on team visibility. This is not going around the company and saying, hey, we did this, we got these results. That's not the case. But you need to get some visibility to the work that you guys are doing. So if you're sending bi-weekly or monthly reports, if you're doing training is a big thing in any enterprise company, and you have to tailor your training to the audience, because the training you give editorial is different from the training you give to the engineering team, is different from the training you give to the C-level, right? You're not going to talk about log files with C-level, right? So you have to tailor your training. You do FAQs and so on. Develop Center of Excellence. It's self-explanatory. Develop roadmaps. It's very important. Pick your battles wisely. H1 is not a big deal to fight over, right? Choose the right battles. We are strategic partners. We're not a keyword monkeys. People asking you for keywords to send, that's not the cause. Meet with them and figure out their objectives and how you can make them successful. Stop whatever doesn't add value, long emails, long meetings, and so on. Make them the hero. This is the big point where like, it's not how you succeeded, it's how you made others succeed, right? Bring attention to them. Thank them in your emails and so on. Plan for the future. Be ready. It doesn't mean that you have to jump on every trend out there, but have the essentials. And at last, I would say, be a good person. If you're genuine, approachable, and humble, it pays a great dividends in your work and the visibility. So, thank you guys.
Wow, that was great. Thank you, John. So, I'm sure you have questions. That was a lot of very rich information. And so please make sure you go to globalmarketingday.com and join the stream and make sure you post questions there. You can also use Global Marketing Day hashtag on your favorite social channel and post questions there as well. So speaking of questions, I have some questions for our panel. John, one question I have is, say you're new to a large enterprise organization, and so you've got to establish, credibility quickly. What tips could you give to someone like you're starting or you're joining a small SEO team and you've got to make traction really quickly? What's a first ally you might want to make?
Yeah, so I think John touched on this a couple different times, the quick wins and the making relationships. I love the donut because I've done that. I've done that before, cool. and I was like, I've done that. It's great, yeah. Absolutely. Who doesn't like a good donut? Yeah. But establishing the relationships with the business stakeholders, so asking questions and trying to get yourself into as many meetings as you can. I think it's important for people to know who you are, to be an advocate for yourself and your team. Yes. is crucial. One example I had, I was in-house for a very large telecommunications firm, which will go unnamed at this point. But I had someone, the digital marketers, come over to me and said, hey, I heard you're the new SEO guy. I said, yeah. She said, oh, that's great. We're doing a campaign. We're going to have a landing page. Can you SEO it for me? Now, of course, it's the first time I ever heard SEO used as a verb, but that's besides the point. But then she said, oh, but it's going tomorrow. I'm like, well, no. So the whole process and the workflow, at that point, I was like, okay, made a connection there, started asking questions, okay, what's the process? And then finally I started getting myself invited to all these planning meetings where I was in there at the beginning, where on the kickoffs. And it's like, listen, guys, I may not be there the whole time. Get me in the middle, or at the beginning. Maybe I'll come back in the middle, and I'll come in the end. What happens in between is okay. I don't have to be there for everything. But until you start getting that cadence and letting people understand what it is that you actually do, you're going to miss out.
Great. Lily, I have a question for you. So there are so many, and John shared so many different things you could know and that you should be doing in order to get the work done. I'm wondering about, though, educational initiatives. Do you think there's an opportunity to do brown bags or, like invite executives or invite some of your stakeholders and actually just do classes or something like that?
Yeah, I'm really glad you asked that. That's actually one of my favorite ways to kind of, get more visibility within the organization. What I like to do a lot of is organizing trainings for different teams within the company. So you can do things like editorial team trainings, or maybe they publish news every day and you can go in there and educate them about the best practices for Google News. Or maybe you can work with the dev team and talk to them about best practices for web development as it relates to SEO. So trainings are my favorite way to get visibility and buy-in. So I like to kind of go out of my way to initiate them and tell people, hey, we're the SEO team, or I'm the SEO person. I really want you to learn more about how to do this. So I'd like to host and organize a training for you, and maybe tell me what you know about SEO or what you'd like to learn, and then I can kind of curate, what I'm going to be teaching you during the session.
And you can bring donuts.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or pizza.
I mean,
Either way.
Pizza always works.
Pizza always works,
For
yeah.
trainings,
A
especially
pizza.
lunchtime.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like
People
early
love it.
lunch, yeah.
Awesome. John, I'm wondering this is from a live stream, for a publisher like Conde Nast, what is the biggest challenge that's facing publishers in the search space?
I mean, there are a lot of challenges out there, right? It's like they are dependent on platforms out there, regardless if it's like Google or Facebook and so on, and they're dependent on the algorithms, right? Algorithms overnight, like I remember with Facebook in February 2018, they turned the switch down, and then most of the publishers lost like 60% of their traffic, right? So what I say is one of the biggest challenges is how to keep your traffic portfolio diverse enough and not be dependent on one stream of traffic. Like Google News is amazing, right? Google Web, Facebook, but what other platforms that you can utilize? Can you use syndication? Can you use TikTok? So that's one of the challenges. The other thing also is we have limited resources, right? And especially in the publishing industry, how you can quantify for every piece of content the impact, right? So you can prioritize what's important and what's not important. So there's a lot of changes, but these are two of the top ones. Yeah.
Okay. John Evans, I'm wondering, so we talked a little bit about, getting allies, right? Or, doing things with stakeholders and trainings. But I'm wondering, have you ever encountered unlikely allies? Like people you wouldn't expect. It's like, this is born fruit that I didn't expect, creating a connection or relationship with so-and-so in an organization.
Yeah, so it's interesting you mentioned PR, because that was always a nice little ally to have. And especially back in the day when you could actually have links that counted.
Yes.
It was like, it's great to have that. But it was one of those things where, again, somebody introduced me to somebody who introduced me to somebody. They said, oh, hey, you should talk to our PR director. Okay, great. And again, it's a large-scale enterprise, so it was kind of hard to navigate those paths to make those introductions. But when you have somebody, again, it's the 7 degrees of separation with Kevin Bacon, right? So it's getting that next person along the line, and it's a path. It is a journey, and then you get to that on the way. Oh, I got this person, I got that person, I got that person, and then all of a sudden you start showing how everybody can benefit. And then this goes back to your showing value, right? Yeah. So everybody benefits, and everybody's now on board, which is also part of the whole education concept.
Yeah.
This all connects. It really does. Yeah.
Lily, I have a question for you. In terms of, John talked about senior executives and finding out what KPIs are important to the business unit or something like that, and kind of get in their favor. I'm wondering, from a reporting standpoint, do you have any tips to share in terms of really making a fast-track impact with a senior executive to either win them as a sponsor or, just to get their support in terms of reporting or
Sure.
or even showcasing?
We were just chatting about this. I think it's really a good idea with reporting to add some extra explanation as to what each metric means, because a lot of the times things could be misinterpreted or misconstrued. So if you just add a few sentences next to each metric and kind of explain, this is what this means, this is how it impacts your SEO, this is what we're looking for over time, just to provide that extra level of education and maybe build that into your reports. So if you're using something like Data Studio, they always have that explanation there next to each kind of report that you're looking at. I think that's a nice way to bring it back, because a lot of the times executives might not fully understand all the different SEO KPIs that we're looking at. So just getting in there with that education whenever you can.
One test we did is I think I mentioned stop long emails and stuff. I would say stop long reports for certain people. I would say start all your reports with 4 lines of executive summary. One time I added this line at the end of the report. It was 20 pages of report, and I was like, if you read this line, reach back to me and I will give you $50. And that report used to go to the whole company. No one ever reached back to me. So these kind of tests are fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I can say I don't like getting the spreadsheet as the lead piece of information. No, thank you. Well, here's a question for the whole panel. So whoever wants to answer, or multiple. On a scale of 1 to 10, how important is a mobile-friendly site to successful SEO? And what's more important, mobile-friendly or site security?
Both.
Yeah.
Both?
It depends, right?
It depends.
It's how you're supposed to start the sentence.
Yeah, right. Every sentence.
I mean, security is important for reasons beyond SEO, as is mobile friendliness. If you're in a situation where you have to choose one or the other, I would probably say security, because that seems like a bigger business issue.
Yeah.
And Google hasn't necessarily switched every site to mobile first indexing yet, so maybe you have a little bit more time to get there, but they're both certainly extremely important for SEO nowadays.
How about just in the context of mobile friendly or not? 1 to 10. Is it a 9? Is it a 10? Is it a 2?
I think nowadays it is like maybe 8. I think if your site is responsive and fast enough, you have done a good job. You can absolutely optimize it further and further, but I think it's very important nowadays. Not just for search engines, for users, because if you're running an e-commerce, within 3 seconds you lost the customer already, or less than that. So it's also for business, not just for search.
Yeah, and I think you also have to, when we start talking about paid search as well, right? So I actually have a friend who has a client that their site is not mobile friendly. And he cannot optimize his ads because he keeps getting the notice, landing page not optimized, landing page not optimized. And he's having a hard time really getting the most out of his campaigns because of that.
Yeah.
So a lot of enterprise team, a small team in an enterprise begs the question, well, are they doing this all on their own? I mean, are the relationships you're forging internally with these different stakeholders, is that all? Or are you going outside at all to freelancers, to consultants, to agencies or whatever? I'm just kind of curious with John and Lily, what's your take on that?
Well, I think we both work at agencies, so we're in a situation where we actually work with a lot of in-house teams.
Yeah.
No, we work with a lot of in-house teams, and I think it's a really nice relationship because, like John mentioned, a lot of the times these in-house teams are maybe only 1 or 2 people, even in some huge companies. Right. So we have a nice relationship with those individuals where they can say, hey, I wasn't able to fully understand this update that Google made last week. Can you dig into that and provide me with a report? Or, hey, I don't have time to put together the structured data. Can you do that part for me? So, with 1-person or 2-person teams, there's always too much work. So agencies kind of help to offload that and do a lot of the work behind the scenes.
Yeah, and sometimes it's easier to secure budget to work with an agency or hire freelancers than actually to hire full-timers. So it's a well-known secret that not a lot of people talk about, but it's way easier to hire an agency than to hire someone in-house. Yeah.
Yeah, especially I think if you're talking about specific initiatives.
Yes.
Right. So it's like, okay, we're going to roll out XYZ, which we know is a 3 or 4 or 5 month rollout.
Yeah.
You can't hire a full-time person because you can't justify the cost after that. But
Yes.
for that 6 months, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, this is great. This has been a great conversation. I really appreciate your expertise. So thank you to our guests in our New York studios, John Shehata, Vice President, Audience Growth at Conde Nast, John Evans, Executive SEO Director at Tribal Worldwide, and Lily Ray, SEO Director at Path Interactive. Let's keep the conversation going, everyone. Go to social media. Social media, what does that mean? Twitter, LinkedIn, or public Facebook, whatever, and use Global Marketing Day as a hashtag to post your questions, and also go to globalmarketingday.com and post your questions, your tips, your insights there as well as we move on to our next session. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.